Welcome back to the channel. My name is Chisom, your coding companion, and today we'll be diving into the wonderful world of React. To be precise, we'll be treating React Router, which is a wonderful library for client-side routing. It handles client-side routing. Okay, before we begin, I want to explain what client-side routing means. And I can't explain what client-side routing is without explaining what routing is, right? Now, when we say routing, we mean navigating from page to page in a website. Now, typically, when you're writing websites using plain HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, whenever you click on a link and you go to a different page, you find out that the page actually reloads. Like, let's say you're in the home page in your index.html and you want, maybe you are the user and you are clicking on a link that is taking you to the contact page. What happens is that your device makes a request to the server for the next page. So and that load time comes before the assets that it requires are fetched, and then the new page is painted on the browser. That's regular routing. Now, React Router introduces client-side routing. As you know, when building applications with React, you are building single-page applications, meaning everything occurs in one particular page. Everything occurs. One JavaScript file handles everything. Now, what client-side routing helps to do is, instead of making, for example, if I click on a link, instead of making a request to the server to get another page, everything is handled on the client side. That means immediately I click a link, some JavaScript is run and it messes with the history API of your browser, and then switches to another. It looks as if you switched to another page, but basically you are still like, it creates that effect that you are moving from page to page, but basically it's still one single page. So that's what client-side routing is about. And React Router makes it very, very simple. So let's get down to it. Now, I have very, very simple projects, very, very simple starter file here. I created a basic React application with Vite. And to run, the command for this is npm create Vite at latest or yarn create Vite. I'm using yarn as my package manager. Basically, that's just it, and then you follow the prompts. So basically, this is what I have now, and I'm just going to clear some things out. Okay, so now that I've basically cleared everything that's not necessary, let's get started with what we have today, and that's React Router. Now, to get started with React Router, you need to install a package called React Router DOM. So since I'm using yarn, I'll be running a yarn add npm to be npm install. So yarn add, the package name is React Router DOM. Okay, now that that's installed, let's continue. So now I've installed React Router DOM, and now there are two things we need here to get started with using React Router in our application, and those two things we need to import them directly from React Router DOM. So I just go import. I'll leave that blank for now, from React Router DOM. And those two things that we need are, first is the router provider, and the second one is create browser router. Now, for some of you, some might be really familiar with React Router before now, maybe previous versions, and you've seen things like the route components or the browser router components. Now, those were in previous versions, I think from version 5 lower. Now, in version 6, a new method, new functions and components were created, and are far much better and have far much more functionality than the previous ones, right? They provide new versions of packages because they've gotten better, right? New versions means better things and much more beautiful features. Okay, so I'll be sticking with version 6 for this particular tutorial. Now that we've imported it, we need to define our router. Now, the first thing I need to do in my application is to create a new instance of the router, and I do this by saying const router equals create browser router, and I'm going to leave this blank for now. I'll just give it an empty object for now. So create browser router, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove where this app is. I'm just going to take it out, and I'm just going to say I'm going to create my router provider, just close this, is expecting something. So my router provider, I need to pass in the router which I just instantiated. And I have router equals router. This thing can come up. I thought it would come up automatically. And now, when I'm done with doing this, all I need to do here now is to provide my routes. That is as simple as that. Just provide my routes. And now I provide my routes within this function argument, which is this object here. There are certain properties that this object is expecting. And the first property here will be path. So sorry, this was my mistake. It's not an object. I just discovered this now. This is an array. I just remembered. So it's expecting an array of objects, yes. And each of those objects are they define the different parts or different parts that we actually have in our application, right? So here, first thing is going to expect is an object of which is displays different properties, but the most essential ones are path, element, and children. Now, for now, we'll just start with the path and element. Now, what path does? What path does that it defines the path of the URL. So let's say I was on maybe www.netflix.com. If I'm on the home page, just be www.netflix.com. That's just it. If I'm on the contacts page, for example, it should be www.netflix.com/contact. Get so I'm obviously defining my first route as my home page, so I need to put a slash. This slash indicates that it's the home page. Then the next thing after that would be the element. So what element belongs? So which element is it going to render at this particular path? And we have not created any element like that, so I'm just going to rush and create an element. So just come over here, create a components folder, or let's say pages folder, and the first thing I want to create is my home page. So home.tsx, React function component 2. I have home, and all this thing is doing is returning page 1 of home, something like this. Good. And all I need to do is come over here and specify that what I need is the home page, home component. And straight away you see that as I did that, what is displayed on the screen is home. So React Router has really informed the browser. It has done everything it wants to do, and it has specified that whenever the browser is on this particular path, which is the home page, it should display the home component. Now, this is just the basics. This is how React Router is working. You instantiate a router using the browser router, and then you pass it into the router provider, and that's just it. Everything works just like that. Very simple. The next thing will be defining other routes, right? Now, I'm going to follow two approaches here, and I'll explain why I'm going to follow these two approaches and the advantage of that you need for one and the advantages that you see in another one. So let's just go. Now, let's say I have another path. Let's say the path is a login page, for example. I can easily just come over here and I create my login page. So I have login.tsx, and I come over here, React function components 2, login. You know what? I think I just copy this thing and paste it here. Copy here, paste it here, and I have login, basically. And now I can do this in two ways. I can decide to come over here and define another path, just the same with the object, just say path and what path or what is the URL I want to attach with it, login. So I have login, and what elements do I want this thing to render? And I want it to render the login page, right? Now, straight up, this actually works, and I just go over here. Let me just change it directly, and I have login. See that it's rendering login, like our component said, h1 of login, right? Straightforward, is all working. See that unlike a regular HTML and CSS, the moment I move a page, there's no time, like it doesn't waste time, just it's immediate. There's no load time, no reloading, because there's no information that's being fetched from the server. Everything is occurring here in the client. Now I'm just going to, like I said, there are two ways of doing this. I will create another component, another page, so that I can explain the two ways. And let's say I want to create a contact page. contact.tsx. All I have to do is just come over here. I have contact, and I come over here now. For now, let me just duplicate this and work with this first way. I will explain why very soon. And I have contact. Let's just import this quickly. Now, it still works, right? It still works. I have this, and navigate to contact, and straight up is working, right? Obviously, we won't want the user to go to the address bar directly and then navigate on their own, right? They won't even know the kind of route you've established. There's a component that React Router provides for us called the link component that we can use to link between pages. They're actually two, link and NavLink, and I'll explain the difference between two of them shortly. Now, let's say I'm in the home page and I want to, let's say, link to the login page. All I need to do here, just get rid of this guy here, or look at the div, home page. Now, I said the component is called link. I wonder why it's not coming in. Let me put it myself then. Or would it come in now? Beautiful. So I'm importing link from React Router DOM. And now link is just represents an A tag, right? At the end, when everything is built, when you build your application for production, it's just going to link is going to be presented by A tag. But this particular link is special because it enables us route and move between pages without the page refreshing. Now, the basic prop that we require for the link components, you see that TypeScript is warning me here, is the to prop. Now, to prop here, what it does is that it specifies the path that this particular link is linking to. You get? So let's say if I check my path, find out that the path for the login is login. Let's say I want to link to the login page. All I need to do is just say /login as I defined it there, and I just come here and say login. So straight away you see that login should occur. Why am I saying is an error? Okay. So straight away you see that a login link comes up here, and if I click on it, it takes into login sharp immediately. That's your link component. I said there's another one again called the NavLink component, and NavLink and link work in the same way, but there's one particular difference. Now, NavLink, as name implies, indicates links that are specific for navigations. Let's say you have a URL, that you have a site and you have your header with different links, and maybe you want to indicate that the current page is, maybe if you're in your home page, in the header you want to indicate that your home page is your current page. Usually maybe change the color of that particular link, or there's an underline or some kind of effect going on. Now, the NavLink allows us to do this because it provides certain functionality for that. Put simply, the NavLink provides a current class name that indicates the current page we're on. Let's say for instance, if we're on the contact page. Okay, you know what? Let's just create one for the home page just to explain everything. Let's say I want to create one for the home page, and I'm going to inspect now so that we can see this. So let me inspect this home page. Inspect. Now, if you check your home page, you see that, okay, not current, please. That was my mistake. An active class. Now, because we are on the home page, it's giving the home page a class of active. If I had done this with link, I'll do that. Let me just do that quickly. If I had done this with the link, that active class there won't be provided for me. So quickly, you should have refreshed this by now. And you see that though it's still, all of them are still going, they are still mapping to an A tag with a href. But the difference now is that with the NavLink, the class attribute, that active class is being added. So it's very, very useful. And that's basically the only difference between NavLink and NavLink. They actually still work the exact same way. So that's for the link and NavLink. One other component I would like to talk about before we continue is the outlet. Now, the outlet as a component, it represents the children of a particular element or a particular page. I'll explain what I mean shortly. Let's say, generally, if you're building a web application, this is how it's going to be. if you're building a landing page, for instance, your landing page has your home, your contact, your about, and so on and so forth. And for the different pages, home, contact, about, they all have the same header and the same footer. Now, it could be terrible and highly repetitive code for you to just carry the header component and repeat it for each of those pages. Now, the outlet helps you with that. Let me explain what I mean. So let's say I have a component, excuse me, and just create a components folder, components, and I want to create a header component. I want to create a header component, header.tsx. Just going to borrow something a bit. So see, come over here, paste this, change this to header. Okay, I'll just stop at header. Now, in a real world application, in the real landing page, this header would ideally be used in the same, it would appear in the home page, contact page, about page, whatever are the main landing pages of your website, right? Now, I can easily just go to each page and just come over here and then import the header and to work like that. But then React Router makes it so easy for us that we can use the outlets component to indicate the child of an element. So if I wanted to do that, what I need to do is, remember we said we want in this case we have just a home and a contact. Generally, you won't want a header in the login page. So what I want to do is that whenever a user navigates to home or contact, I want the same header component to display on those two pages. How do I do that? I said I'm using the outlets component. And the only way to use the outlets component is by specifying a prop called children for this to actually work. So children, what children does is children takes an array of objects that still look like what we have here. And this indicates that it's creating this hierarchy. It's indicating that every single path, every single route you are specifying in this children object, they are all children routes of whatever element you specified that prop in. So basically, if I want to specify this, I can just say path. So let's say first of all, I need to specify. Bear with me, I'm going to do something very, very quickly. Now you see a change here, and you see that I put this outlet here, and then I moved the home here. So what we have here now is basically what we had before, but now here comes an added benefit. Now, if you notice, for this to work, actually, I ensured that the paths are the same for this one. So what it's telling me is that for this what this simply means that for this particular route, which is the home route, display whatever child like comes up. So basically, what this is saying, like here now, this is here and here, the parts are the same. So what it means in this case, since these parts align and is the child of this, the home is going to replace its outlets. Now, the reason why I changed this to this is for what I said earlier that I want to achieve. So from here, what I need to do here is, you see that it's basically the same thing. Like I said, everything still works. Everything still works as it was working before. So login is all working the same way. Now, but I said this comes with an added benefit, and that added benefit now is that I can also specify that this contact here is actually under this. Now, what did this do? If you still check again, what I have here is basically the same thing. I click on contact, it goes to contact. That's because when I click on contact, if you check the URL, this is matching what I said. I go back, I click on login, it's still going to login. But the added benefit here is that now with this element here now is what I can do here is, remember I wanted the header to appear for both the home and the contact. I can come over here and say that I want this thing to render an element that showcases the header first before bringing in any of its children. Remember, outlet represents the children. So with this, you see that there's a change now. Now, because I specified that this is the main element and this will be rendered every time with whatever child that's passed here. Remember, this outlet represents all the children here. So now, if I go to home, you see that the header shows up before the home. If I go to contact, the same thing, the header shows up for the contact. But if I go to login, it doesn't work that way. Why? Very, very simple. Because this outlet component represents the children here. What it's doing is that every time I switch a part, it's simply replacing the previous element that was there with the next element that matches that part. The login doesn't work here. That's because the login wasn't passed as the children prop. So like what I said is that the outlet represents every single child. So this is actually much more better. So maybe I have like 5 different links. Instead of me repeating code by putting the component, the header component on and on in those different 5 pages, what I need to do is just declare it once, then pass these other ones as children, and everything just works. And now the last thing I want to talk about, last 2 things rather, would be hooks and then the error elements. Let me start with the hooks. Now, React Router provides many hooks, but the one I'm going to talk about are the useParams hook and then the useNavigate. Now, I'll start with the useParams. Now, what are params? Now, React Router allows you to use dynamic parameters, meaning, let's say you have an e-commerce site that you have different items, right? And these different items have different IDs. Let's say you have bags, you are selling bags in the site, and each bag has its own ID, and there should be a dedicated page where that bag should be displayed. So you navigate to maybe product/ID, product/bag/1, you show bag 1, product/bag/2. So we need a way, because typing all those routes by hand is very stressful and it's not scalable. It doesn't even make sense, because in the future more products will be added. So how do we do this? We specify, there's something that React Router specifies as dynamic routes. You can actually specify a route that you know is going to change. So now let's say I want to create a product page. So I'll go to the pages, simply say product.tsx, and in this product page, do I still have, no, I don't still have this here. Windows V. Good. Come over here. Product. Those will make it as quick as possible. And in this product page over here, let me just define the route. So here, still under this place, I can pass in a path, and the path I want is product/ID. Now, how you define dynamic routes here, or dynamic parameters, is with a colon. So now what I'm telling React Router is that whatever element I'm going to specify, render that element no matter, once I have product/whatever ID I pass. So let's just test that out, so I not be like I'm just talking. So I want what should be rendered should be the products. So what I'm telling React Router here is that over here, if I specify /product/1, it should render the product components. If I come over here and change to 12, it's still rendering the same product components. Now, with this, how do we now actually get this ID? And that's why we'll go back to what I said initially about the useParams hook. Then we go back there. So in the product page, now I can easily get, let's say I want to get that ID and then fetch the information from a server, right? I can easily do that with my useParams hook. So I simply say const params equals useParams. If only this is going to import properly. Can you kindly? Okay. Params equals useParams, and what I want is whenever we are in a product page, I just want to show that product. So product, then params.id. Now, I know I went too far, but let me explain what I have here. Now, useParams is basically a hook that allows you get dynamic parameters for whatever route you passed, whatever path you specified. So in this case, I provided product and I gave the identifier name as ID. You can give it as you can make it anything. You can even say this is slug, and over there, just what it means that instead of checking ID, I will not say slug. So I can give whatever name I want. Now, what these guys do, what the useParams hook is doing is that it provides the parameter that I provided. So if I come over here, I can change this to product, blah, 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 blah. And it provides that thing and returns it as an object. So what params is returning is return an object with the parameters I specified. So I could have specified even much more parameters. It will return an object containing all those parameters. I can easily collect the values I want from those objects with the names I defined there, because whatever name I define here is what's going to be used as the property name that I can use to get the thing I passed in. That's the useParams hook. I said there's one more hook again I want to talk about, and that's the useNavigate hook. Now, the useNavigate hook is used for programmatic navigation. Maybe you want to navigate the user from the product page to one other page. Now, the simplest way to do that is by using the useNavigate hook that comes from React Router DOM. So I'm just going to import it here. useNavigate. Now, the way you use this hook is simply saying const navigate. So you can call this anything, but by convention, I just use navigate. So all you have to do is just simply call useNavigate the hook, and it returns this handy function that you can use to navigate. Let's say this is my application now, and maybe this is a protected route, and I don't want any user to come over here unless that person is logged in. I could maybe write a function, provide a guard component that checks if the user ID is available, and then I can programmatically navigate after that check. Now, I'm just going to do something similar with the use effect. So use effect, import this guy from React. Now let's say this product is a protected route. I want to use if there's no user ID or anything like that, I want the user to be sent out of the page. Now obviously I'm not going to do anything as fancy as that for this basis of this tutorial, because I said I was just going to touch the essentials. But generally what I want is that whenever a user comes to this page, he or she should be navigated out of the page immediately and should go to the home page. So I need to pass in navigate as usual as my dependency here. So generally now, if you notice, if I go over to the home and I create maybe a product, let's say product /23, and this is product 23, come over here, I click on product 23, see that it's instantaneous. See that flash? That's because the moment the user goes to this place, I'm navigating the person back. So navigation knows the exact same as this link, but you can do it programmatically. You're the one in control of that. Link is waiting for the user to click on it, but for the navigate, the programmer is in charge of that. And now the last thing I want to talk about is the errorElement. Now the errorElement serves a huge purpose. The errorElement takes in the elements that would be displayed if there's any error in the page. So it acts as the error boundary. That's one thing I love about React Router. Normally, if I'm building a single page application with no routing involved, I'll start if I want to catch errors on time. Maybe I don't want if there's an error, I don't want the entire system to crash. I will use something like error boundaries, right? But whenever I'm using React Router, I don't bother about that, because React Router's errorElement serves as an error boundary as well. Now let's say there's an error on my page. Let's say in the advent of writing my code, I made a mistake and I wrote CLG somewhere, maybe in an unreachable area, that is only one specific condition that can trigger that piece of code. Now, if my user mistakenly triggers that piece of code, this kind of thing happens. You see that there's by default, normally the application would have crashed, but by default, because React Router is providing an error boundary component for us, this is the default thing that will be shown. At least you are displaying to the user that this is what's happening. But generally, you always want to change the look of this guy. This is not beautiful. You can maybe specify a 404 page or something like that. But I said it serves a lot of purpose. Another thing again, it can serve as, you can use it and provide maybe a 404 page. Maybe the user navigates to the wrong route. Let's say I want to navigate to GHHHH. I press enter. The page is not found. So see 404 not found. This error element provides, it serves as this way of catching those errors and then displaying something so that the application doesn't just go blank. And now it's very simple to specify. Just go to the root elements. Is the root element we define it in the root path. Come over here and specify that the error element is simply whatever you want to display. So in this case, I want to display a H1 saying error. So now, oh, sorry, there's supposed to be a comma after this. So now, whenever there's an error in my application, for example, if someone navigates to the wrong page, you see error. So I can use this to specify whatever kind of error I want, 404 page, and then it will also act as my error boundary as well, in case my application has an error and it avoids it from crashing. And that's the wrap for today's coding session. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to never miss out on our coding escapades. I would love to hear your opinions on this video, and if you have any video requests related to front-end technologies, please indicate those in the comment section, or you can privately DM me. I'll be happy to receive them. And until next time, happy coding and stay awesome.